and I will hand the meeting over to you.
Perfect.
Okay, just push the button. All right, and you are live on YouTube. The meeting is yours, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Josephine Spencer, and I'd like to welcome you to the White Lake Township Zoning Board of Appeals. This board is a quasi-judicial board, which consists of 5 members. In order for your variance to be granted, you must receive a majority vote from the full board. In order for this board to grant a variance, you must prove a practical difficulty exists. Unfortunately, personal circumstances or financial hardships cannot be considered by this board. If your variance is granted, you have 6 months to obtain the required permits, or your variance will expire and you must reappear before the board. If your variance is denied, you have the right to appeal this decision. By state statute, you must appeal to the circuit court and have 30 days to file an appeal. There is no other township board that can overrule this decision. All cases will be heard in the order they appear on the agenda. I will call the case, staff will give their review, and the proponent will have 10 minutes to speak. The board will then ask questions of the proponent, and then the public hearing will be opened. Each member of the public who wishes to speak will have 3 minutes to do so. We ask you please state your name and address for the record. After the public hearing is closed, the proponent will have 5 minutes to address any questions or concerns. It will then be brought back to the board for consideration, a motion, and a roll call vote. And with that, Hannah, may we have a roll call, please?
Spencer,
Yes, present here in White Lake, Michigan.
Walls,
Here in White Lake, Michigan.
Shellac,
Present in White Lake, Michigan.
DeHart,
Here, White Lake, Michigan.
and Cowell.
Here, White Lake, Michigan.
Thank you. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
Of the United States of America.
Republic,
And to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Do we have a motion to approve our agenda?
So moved.
And do we have a support?
Support.
And may we have a roll call, please?
Shellac,
Yes.
DeHart,
Yes.
Cowell,
Yes.
Spencer,
Yes.
Walls.
Yes.
We have before us the minutes of the January 28th, 2021 meeting. Do we have a motion for approval?
I just had one thing I wanted to clarify.
Yes.
It was when my Zoom thing was going out last time. Down on page, I'm trying to find the page. It's the case about the donkey and the horse, page 5.
Okay.
Just to clarify, so when I said yes, there was not a precedent set. I think again that's where I was kind of fading out. What I was trying to say there was yes, I did not believe this case sets a precedent. So just want to clarify that.
Thank you.
And with that, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes unless there's something anybody else has.
Okay.
Powell will support.
Thank you, Mike. May we have a roll call, please?
Shellac,
Yes.
Cowell,
Yes.
Spencer,
Yes.
DeHart,
Yes.
Walls.
Yes.
With that, calling the first case, this is a tabled case from our last meeting. The applicant is Robert Snap. The location is 8834 Arlington Road, also identified as 1213-176-002. The request is the applicant requests to construct a single-family house requiring variances from Article 3.1.6.e R1D single-family residential side yard setback, maximum lot coverage, minimum lot area, and minimum lot width. As this case was tabled, the public hearing has already been heard. We will not have an additional public hearing on this. And with that, may we have staff report, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, board members. This case was tabled at your January 28th meeting. At that time, a large topic of discussion was the side yard setbacks and this architectural feature of the house here on the west side. Just a brief bit of background to refresh everyone's memories. The applicant's proposing to demolish the existing house and construct a new house that would be 2 stories with a 2-car garage. In R1D, the minimum side yard setback is 10 feet and the maximum lot coverage is 20%. The applicant, this was the case or the plan from the previous meeting. They were proposing a 7-foot setback with this bump out here was 1.21 feet. And then the last time it was an 8.5-foot setback from the east side. This plan on the screen now is changed slightly. This bump out is now 1 foot instead of 1.21 feet, and that achieved a 10-foot setback between structures on the west side. There's still a variance required with a 7.71 foot setback on the west. They're seeking a 2.29 foot variance. The setback request on the east has stayed the same at 1.5 feet. The lot coverage is 33%. So they're requesting a 13% variance for the coverage. And that is about 888 square feet of coverage. And then just to cover our bases with the lot width, 80 feet is required of the street line. This property is 50 feet wide, so they're seeking a 30-foot variance. And then with the lot size, they're requesting a 5,020 square foot variance. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer it.
Thank you. Does anyone have questions of staff?
No.
If there are none, then Mr. Snap, do you want to proceed, please?
Yeah, I just wanted to say I took 6 inches off the whole side of the house. And where the bump out's at, I took like 9 inches off. 8 or 9 inches. So. And I have the full 10 foot that you guys wanted in between the 2 houses.
Okay, thank you. Any
In
questions?
the bump out, it actually is at the walkout, the wall tapers up. So the time you get to the first floor, you're actually 10'6" from the house next door. So I'm
Thank
actually
you.
10 feet from the footing. If that makes sense.
It does. You heard us last month. You understood our concerns with
Yeah.
fire department and proper access. And for that, I appreciate the consideration that you gave in doing this plan over. Does anybody have any questions for the proponent? If not, there will not be a public hearing on this. So I will bring it back to the board for additional discussion or a motion.
I just want to say I appreciate all the work that was done and, hearing the concerns that we had.
Thank you.
So I'll make a motion.
Okay,
If there's no conversation, I'm going to move to that screen. I move to approve the variances requested by Robert Snap from Article 3.1.6.e of the zoning ordinance for parcel number 12-13-176-002, identified as 8834 Arlington Road, in order to construct a new house that would exceed the allowed lot coverage by 13% and encroach 2.29 feet into the required west side yard setback and 1.5 feet into the required east side yard setback, a 30-foot variance from the required lot width, and 5,020 square foot variance from the required lot size are also granted from Article 3.1.6.e. The approval will have the following conditions. The applicant shall obtain all necessary permits from the White Lake Township Building Department.
Thank you. Do we have a support?
I'll support.
Thank you, Debbie. Hannah, may we have a roll call, please?
Schlack,
Yes, I do not believe, and with all the work that's been done, this is not I don't believe this is it's no longer a self-imposed hardship. And I also believe this is going to be a incredible improvement to this neighborhood as well.
DeHart,
Yes, I too believe it will be a drastic improvement to the neighborhood, and the applicant worked hard to listen to our concerns.
Powell,
I vote yes for the reasons stated.
Spencer,
Yes, this is a non-conforming parcel. The improvements to the neighborhood are greatly going to be appreciated by everyone in that area. And I do believe that we are granting minimum variances, and there is a practical difficulty because of the situation.
Walls,
Yes, I vote yes for the reasons stated.
And that, Mr. Snap, you have your variance.
Thank you very
You,
much.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thanks a lot.
Yes.
Made my night.
You need to give staff a couple of days to get a rough draft copy of the minutes to you. You will need
Okay.
them to take to the building department.
Okay,
And you remember, you have to pull your permit within 6 months or you're back before us
right.
again.
Well, I'll be pulling it right away.
He doesn't want to
sure
come
you
back
will.
a
Thank
fourth
you.
time, I'm sure.
Enjoy more
No,
fun with us.
no.
3 times is too many.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
this is
Thank you
going to be
very
a great
much. I
project.
appreciate it.
I look forward to seeing it when it gets done. It's going to be great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Good
Brian.
luck to you, sir. Our next case, Scott Grant. Location is 9411 Bonnie Briar, also identified as 1214-277-001. The applicant requests to construct an enclosed porch requiring a variance from Article 3.1.6.e R1D Single Family Residential Rear Yard Setback. For the record, 22 notices were sent within 300 feet to either the owner or occupant. No letters received in favor, no letters received in opposition, and no letters returned by United States Mail. And with that, may we have staff report, please?
On the screen is a plan provided by the applicant. This property is almost 4/10 of an acre in size and zoned R1D. The existing house on the property is approximately 3,100 square feet in size. This property is comprised of multiple lots from the English Village or Villa's plat and contains 313 and a half feet in width at the front property line. The applicant is proposing to remove an existing unenclosed deck from the south side of the house and construct an enclosed porch. It may be hard to see on my screen, but I'll zoom way in here. Right here is a picture of the deck now, and this is what they're proposing. So the house currently is non-conforming. It's located 14 feet from the front property line and 20.7 feet from the canal to the west. There's a 25-foot water feature setback, and then the minimum rear yard setback in R1D is 30 feet. This porch, so here is the corner in question. It would be located 16 feet from the water's edge, so they're requesting a 14-foot variance. And if you're looking at this plan here, just this plan here on the right is from the survey, so that the property extends beyond what you see on this drawing farther to the east. So it is a request of a variance for 14 feet, resulting in a 16-foot setback from the water. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Thank you. Does anyone have questions of staff?
Madam Chair.
Yes, please. Mike.
Justin, you have said that it's the setback to the south is 16 foot off the rear property line. The survey did not, in my opinion, show a rear property line. It shows the water's edge.
I'm sorry. Yeah, the rear yard setback is measured from the water's edge. So I maybe wasn't clear in what I said. I think the staff report said the rear yard setback is 30 feet from the water's edge. So you're correct. The setback is measured from the water's edge.
Okay, and that confuses me a little bit more as well, because I thought the required setback was 25 feet from the water or the subaqueous area.
That does not negate the rear yard setback. So if your rear yard abuts the lake, you can't just take 5 feet off your rear yard setback and say, oh, it's a 25-foot setback from the lake, when the underlying zoning district has a greater setback. And the interpretation of the zoning ordinance says that the setback is measured from the water's edge for rear yards.
Okay, thank you very much.
That 25 feet, Mr. Powell, and it just to make, and this would maybe clarify for everyone. So if you're looking at this point here, this is a side yard, and the side yard setback is 10 feet in R1D, but their side yard is the canal, so they have a 25-foot setback. So that's where that comes into play, Mr. Powell, where the water features is greater than a setback established in the underlying zoning district.
All right, it has to be the subaqueous setback of 25 feet or the setback distance, whichever is greater.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Any other questions of staff? If there are none, then would the proponent, Mr. Grant, like to come on board and tell us why it is you want to do what you're doing, please?
Sounds great. Well, thank you for having us. We appreciate the time. First and foremost, we are looking to remove our existing deck and replace it with a new deck, but this time we would like to really have it screened in. And to have that screened in area, we would have to have a roof over that deck as well. With that being said, we have a very narrow lot, a long and narrow lot. One of the things I want to point out that was pertinent to Mr. Powell's question was that it was stated that the setback request is, I believe, 14 feet. The distance between the plan and the water's edge is actually 21 feet. So we would be looking for a 9-foot setback, unless I'm confused by what the surveyor had and the architect had drawn. And feel free to correct me later on if that's the case. But overall, there are many factors that we'd like to have this screening area. We've tried large umbrellas, we've tried industrial umbrellas. We are in an area where the wind comes off of the lake and simply rips the umbrellas out of the tables, out of the deck, and damages items. That on top of mosquitoes and bugs at night, looking for a screened-in area, as well as large amounts of sap droppings from the trees in the area as well. Overall, quite simply, we'd love to have a usable area for the lake. Don't have the room to fall within the variance, within the natural setbacks. But the existing deck area is really what we'd like to replace with simply a covered deck. So any questions I'm happy to address and answer. Oh, the roof line. So
it looks more, based on the pictures, I feel like the porch looks pretty massive. But basically the architect seam lined all 3 of the roofs differences that we have, and he seam lined it. So now it looks aesthetically, it looks correct and pleasing.
Rather than original house addition, it's one clean roof line.
So it'd be 2. It'd be the high one and then the low, yeah. But it would look nice, much nicer.
Any other questions for the proponent?
I have, oh, go ahead, Debbie.
Oh, I just want to clarify that the new screened-in porch deck would be exactly the same size as the deck that is currently there,
No,
I believe it's 1 foot further.
1 foot further.
goes to the
It's
side.
larger in area.
It's,
Yes.
yeah, the width from the house, it's like this, it's 1 foot further, but then it goes
Into the side
into the
yard,
side yard,
so allowing access from the roadside onto the deck.
pretty much.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Mike.
I think it's important that we point out, even though the applicant shows on their plan that the deck setback is proposed as 21 foot 3 inches from the, it looks like from the water area. I think quite frankly that staff is correct. The measurement to the water edge is perpendicular to the water, not perpendicular to the addition. And I'd like
So it goes out an angle?
maybe, yeah, I'd like maybe Justin to just verify if we are so inclined to approve this, I want to make sure that it is not improperly requested, the setback, because as shown, we need a larger setback than what's shown on the plan.
Right. What is shown on the plan is dimensioned. It's not measured correctly. We measured to the closest point, like you said, Mr. Powell. So that's what I threw a scale down on the plan and measured.
Okay, good. And of course, you got the slope of the lake and the shoreline and everything else in that scale. I'm joking with you, Justin. So, but thank you for that, because if we went by the plan, we would erroneously be giving the wrong variance if we so desired.
Any other questions of the proponent?
Yes, what is the reason for the bump out instead of just carrying it right straight across the back of the house? What's the reason for the bump out, the additional foot?
Oh, that was really simply to have a little bit more room for the furniture area within the deck, so that you can fit a table actually.
All right, and I do want to point out that the setback from that bump out is actually greater than from the southeast corner of the addition. So that's why whatever setback we give, that would be covered in it as well. So thank you.
If there are no additional questions for the proponent, I would like to open up the public hearing. Brian, is there anybody in the audience that wishes to speak on this case, please?
We have one caller. If you would like to raise your hand, press *9 and we will call on you. Waiting for other callers. I don't see any other callers coming in and no hands raised.
Okay, then I will close the public hearing, bring it back to the board for additional discussion or a motion.
Yeah, when I was looking at it today, one of the questions I often ask about is view lines. If something would block, and I have to say, my first, I'm actually stunned at the frontage that this house has. I just looked at that and I went, wow, that's incredible. And personally, I did not see how this would block anybody's view. If these lots were somehow separated and then there was another house put on that kind of larger piece, but that's not the current case.
No, you're right. It's a pretty big lot, and with our kids, we have like the trampoline and a toy, the play set. And there are a couple of the younger kids came in when they were looking at houses across the street and stuff. They said the little girl thought, we're going to live across from the play set, like the park.
So my concern about view lines, I do not have a concern at all with that here at all. And personally, I'm inclined to vote for this.
Thank you.
Unless I hear any pretty good argument otherwise.
Nick, I agree. I believe that denying this would be an undue hardship. And because of the size of the house or the size of the lot, and there is no impact at all on any neighbors. So I agree with you.
Yeah.
Then if there's no other discussion, may we have a motion, please?
I can make a motion,
Thank you, Debbie.
because I can see it. I move to approve the variance requested by Scott Grant from Article 3.1.6.e of the zoning ordinance for parcel number 12-14-277-001, identified as 9411 Bonnie Briar Drive, in order to construct an enclosed porch that would encroach 14 feet into the required rear yard setback. This approval will have the following conditions. The applicant shall obtain all necessary permits from the White Lake Township Building Department, and an as-built survey shall be required to verify the approved rear yard setback.
Thank you. And do we have a support?
I'll support it.
Thank you. May we have a roll call, Hannah?
DeHart,
Yes, I believe that this will, I guess, improve the house and their living, and based on the lot size, it does not obstruct anyone's views.
Schlack,
Yes, for the reasons stated.
Powell,
Yes, I believe that this is a unique circumstance in the size of the parcel, width and the minimum depth on the parcel shows that the lake actually encroaches more on the house than most of the lots. And I think denying this would deny the substantial justice to the applicant.
Walls,
I vote yes. I believe a hardship exists due to the challenges associated with the lot.
Spencer,
Yes, I too see a hardship, and the fact that not only is this going to be an improvement, the lot size is large enough that it is not obstructing anybody's views. With that, Mr. Grant, you have your variance. Please give staff a few days. You'll need a rough copy of the minutes to take to the building department. And if you don't pull a permit within 6 months, you'll be back before us again. So don't delay.
Will not. Appreciate it.
Congratulations. Dave.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yep.
And with that, calling the next case. The applicant is Signature Group of Livingston, Inc. The location is 2765 Ridge Road, also identified as 12-18-101-025. The applicant requests to construct an addition to a single-family house requiring variances from Article 3.1.6.e R1D, single-family residential, side yard setback, and minimum lot width. A variance from Article 7.28.a, repairs and maintenance to non-conforming structures, will be required due to both the value of improvements and the increase in cubic content. For the record, 22 owners within 300 feet were notified of the proposed variance. No letters received in favor, no letters received in opposition, and no letters returned by United States Mail. And with that, may we have staff report, please, Justin?
This property is approximately 1/2 acre in size. The existing house on the property is about 768 square feet. It utilizes a private well for water and a private septic system for sanitation. The applicant, on behalf of the property owners, is proposing to remove an existing deck off the front of the house and construct a 598 square foot addition over a full walkout basement. The existing house is non-conforming to setbacks. It's located 5.5 feet from the south side property line. The proposed addition, which you can see a close-up here on the screen. The wall of the addition would be 5.3 feet from the south side lot line. However, the proposed roof overhang is within 5 feet of the side lot line, and Article 5, Section 3 of the zoning ordinance prohibits roofs, gutters, windows, and open balconies from projecting closer than 5 feet to a side or to any lot line. And then Article 7, Section 28 of the ordinance limits repairs and maintenance to non-conforming structures to 50% of the state equalized value in a 12-month period. And it doesn't allow the cubic content of non-conforming structures to be increased based on the SEV of the structure, which is $64,470. The maximum extent of improvements cannot exceed $32,235. This project is valued at about $200,000, so a variance to exceed the allowed value of improvements by about 620% is being requested. And then I just noting on the survey here, there's a shed that's located about a half a foot from the south side lot line. It looks like it's on a permanent foundation, and it is non-conforming. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer it.
So for
Thank you.
clarification
Go ahead.
For clarification for everybody listening, then, if the overhang goes into that 5 feet, we are not legally allowed to approve it, no matter what we like about it, right?
Correct. There need to be some modification.
Okay. And so this is, okay, never mind. I'll hold that question.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for staff?
Madam Chair, I have a question for staff.
Go ahead, Dave.
How does approval or denial of this affect the existing shed that's within approximately half a foot of the south lot line, Justin?
That's a decision that the board can make. I just brought it to your attention. As a nonconformity, you can leave it, you can remove it, you can move it. That's up to you.
Any other questions of staff?
The addition, I mean, I'm pretty sure I know the answer here, but again, this is just for the clarification and based on your report. The addition increases the nonconformity, does not maintain it, correct?
Right. It would be an increase of about 598 square feet. You know, the article.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's specifically the 5-yard setback piece.
Right. It would be.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
If there are no additional questions of staff, then Mr. Rosman, you're up, please.
All right, well, thank you for your time tonight. Basically, we just wanted to tell a quick story that we just bought this home in December of 2019. So we've been there 14 months. Like a lot of the homes around the lake, it's a cottage-like home. Needs a lot of improvements, and we're doing our best just to kind of make it livable for us. It's currently listed as or assessed as a 3-bedroom home. Quite frankly, it's right now, if you were to see the inside, it's a 1-bedroom home, and using an existing room. I think the previous owner took out, it was a bedroom, but they took out the closet. So it's just a room with no closet. And we are using that as a bedroom, no place to put the clothes. So what we're trying to do, or what we'd like to do, is in the front of the house, there's an old deck. It's starting to rot out. It's fairly unsafe. One way or another, it needs to come out. But it's the perfect spot to add on to this house, which at least when we looked at it and our builder looked at it, we feel we can push into that area, remove the existing deck, creating a master bedroom and a master bathroom, which we have neither of right now. And like I said, our main living area is 168 square feet. This would extend that to a little over 1,000 square feet. It is a walkout, so it does have a lower level, but I'm not counting that in the square footage. So that's all we're trying to do. The area that we're building on is already taken up by the deck. So I don't believe that our plan is showing that we're extending or encroaching any further towards that lot line. It's basically taking the place of the deck. My builder is here, sitting next to my wife, Wendy, Dave down there. He could probably answer some more technical questions for you, but that's, generally speaking, what we're looking at doing.
Thank you.
So-
Any questions of the proponent?
Did the builder want to say something first?
Yes. So on
Oh, go
that,
ahead, sir.
on the south side currently of the existing structure, the house has overhangs that are like 30 inches. So as what the architect has drawn is just matching what exists, for plane of foundation and plane of overhang. So, I mean, but from an architect standpoint, it's more from a curb appeal. But if the overhang is an issue, we can always omit the overhang, the 30-inch overhang, either do possibly just an 8-inch overhang with an applied gutter to it, or no overhang at all. It would just be cutting off that tail. So the whole idea of the way it's drawn to match existing, but it doesn't necessarily have to be that way.
Thank you. Mike, go ahead.
Yes, it's obviously that the house is not parallel to the property line. And so the longer the addition, the closer the addition gets to the property line. It goes from the 5.5 to the 5.3 feet. And the overhang is a problem. I'd feel certainly a little more likely to approve if the entire structure were able to be moved to the north somewhat instead of matching the side of the house, because a home without an eave kind of looks funny. And so you might respond to that. I also wondered whether or not there's a foundation under the shed, and what's the shed used for? Because we don't like to see sheds that close to a property line. They have the same requirements that homes do. Right now, that shed appears to be an obstacle for pulling into the garage easily, and didn't know if that shed could be removed. And then I also wondered, and maybe the builder could tell us, or one of you could, that where is the air conditioning unit going to be placed in this site plan?
It'll be placed near the where you see on the site plan the current electrical and gas meter.
Okay, I have a personal problem with that. When we're granting variances to the side yard setback, to have a noisy air conditioning unit even closer to an adjacent property whose potential bedroom window could be 10 feet off of that property line. So I would not approve this with the air conditioning unit along your south property line. It'd have to be moved around into the backyard or into the front yard or backyard, roadside or lakeside, and not alongside the structure. For me to vote for it anyway.
We can easily move it to the east side of the proposed addition. That's not an issue.
All right. What about the potential of sliding the entire addition to the north instead of just eliminating the overhang?
Well, we just put in a new well, and with the
That wouldn't
well
impact that. I'm talking about moving it a foot so you can still have an overhang on your
overhang.
house.
Yeah, that we can possibly do that. I just have to see how it impedes on a current kitchen window, which I think is that faces due east, because it's the only window that you would see from the kitchen, up to the roadside from a security aspect. But if that, we basically would have about 12 inches to that window. So if we did slide the entire addition 12 inches north and then just had a standard 12-inch overhang, it could be done.
Do we have to replace the brand new window?
Mm-mm.
Okay. I want to just say, we bought this house and it's a cottage and it's from 1950 and everything in it has to be redone. And it's super small. And I just want to have a bedroom and a bathroom and make it a livable space. My husband wanted to move here because he loves White Lake. And we've been very happy since we've been here, but I have to say, I'm not happy with the house at all. It's 760 square feet. And we have 3 grown children that come back and there's nowhere for anyone to move or to sleep. And my husband works from the home and I was teaching here from the house. And we just want to make it livable. And we've done some renovations and we just want a place to sleep and a place for me to put my clothes. And we'll do whatever we need to do so that we can have a bedroom and a bathroom in working order. We've just replaced the well. And it seems like it's a money pit. We're replacing and redoing everything. And we want to stay on the lake because the view is beautiful and the people are wonderful. But we just have to make it livable. So that's why we're here. And that's all we want to do.
I appreciate that because I grew up in a house very similar to this on Union Lake, and until we put an addition on, we were virtually camping in the living room. So I totally understand.
If I could add just a couple things too, if I'm not going over our time, but my wife's very emotional, passionate about it. We're trying to take a lot of pride in this house. It's needed a lot of work. We put a fair amount of money into it. If you saw the before and if you see the after, I think it's really going to add significant just appeasement to the neighborhood itself. It's got an old crumbling deck. That's where we'd like to put the addition. I understand the variances. Our neighbor next door, who might even be calling in, and feel free to, maybe Andy could tell you a little bit more, but his home is probably 45 to 50 feet away from our lot line. It's not one of those houses where it's right on top of the other one. So to somebody's point about, a bedroom, and, I don't know where their bedroom is exactly, but I don't think we're impeding. We're not knocking out anybody's view. We're just trying to have a master bedroom and a bathroom, which this home has literally one bedroom, no master baths at all. We're just trying to make it livable, make it nice so we can stay there.
Thank you. There is one thing I need to say. This board is charged with eliminating nonconformity, not increasing it. However, from hearing the discussion tonight from all of you, it sounds like you would be willing to work with the planning department to make sure that some of our concerns would be addressed. But we do have to keep in mind that we are charged with eliminating the nonconformity. But from what you're telling me, you are willing to work with us to hopefully decrease some of what you're requesting right now. And for that, I appreciate it. Does anybody else have anything for the proponent before I open the public hearing?
I do have one question. Looking at the addition, and this is in regard, Madam Chair, to your comment about increasing the nonconformity. There is more, I mean, at least as I could see it today when I went by, and from what I can see on this plan, it does appear that there's still more space between the edge of the proposed addition and the garage. And I'm almost wondering, I mean, is it possible that the addition, and maybe this is more the architectural builder question, but is it possible that the addition could be more kind of go further to the east and not all the way down quite so close to the property line?
The whole reason that it's designed the way it is just getting entry into the home. Once
Okay.
we elongate the house, we can't have, right now it's kind of like it will be going into a bi-level home. You either go up or you go down, there'll be a landing. You start to elongate that house, you basically have no way to enter the home, to have like a true foyer. And the foyer is not that large.
Mr. Schleck was actually suggesting that in order to keep the north side of the addition exactly where it is now and minimize the shrinking of the porch and or encroaching on that window you were concerned about in the doorway there, you could make the addition a little bit longer east-west, move it towards the east and pull it off the south property line. Changes the shape of the room slightly, but it keeps your proposed new north wall exactly as you have it shown.
I would be careful in doing that. Once the garage becomes within 10 feet of the house, it's a part of the house. The garage is non-conforming to the side yard setback. And I can't remember what the garage is 5 feet from the lot line with the roof overhang that's closer.
Looks like it's about 15 feet off the house though. So there's some flexibility there.
Yeah.
Or off the addition, I mean.
I'm just saying, be careful with.
Yeah, good point.
Too close.
Yep.
Any other questions or comments before I?
Yeah, I mean, just
go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just thinking like even just pulling 2 or 3 feet off of the south end, and putting it on the east end. Again, I know that plays with it a bit, but yeah, it preserves that window, which I hear you. The security aspect is, you want to know who's coming down your driveway. Absolutely.
Can't we just
Brian,
make the roof line different? Can't we just cut the roof line shorter so it doesn't go over? Yeah, can't we just make the roof different and just leave the addition the way the architects planned it and just make the roof a little different so it doesn't go as far as it is going right now to match this house?
Well, that's what your builder had represented, but keep in mind that your house is 5.5 feet off the property line. You're actually asking us to allow the addition to go 0.2 of a foot closer to the property line than the existing house. So we're actually increasing the non-conformity of your structure a little bit. And your builder might have a comment on this. Normally you like to see a little bit of a drip line off your exterior siding and off your window, and the potential of shielding the sun from glaring in your windows there. And that's what an eave is for. So all of that has to be weighed out. You're right, Mrs. Rosman.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're correct. I mean, you need to have at minimum an 8-inch overhang.
Right.
Minimum.
And the way the plan is drawn now, there can be 0 overhang.
Correct.
Correct.
So it looks like a jog. It almost given an architectural feature with a jog there. I have no idea what's happening on the inside floor plan there, and whether that 1 or 2 foot jog off that southeast corner of the existing house would impact what's going on inside. That's your guys' call. We're just throwing out ideas because I'll just give you my speech. You're asking us to allow you to break the law, and we are charged to minimize the amount of law breaking we allow you to do. That's kind of a simple way of putting it. And we're not here to negotiate with you. We're here to just understand what your concerns are and see if we can't come to a conclusion.
Well, what if we were just to slide everything to the north, the 12 inches, so we can have a standard 12-inch overhang, and then we'll take that additional square footage that we lose and apply it to the east.
That was kind of a thought. Yes.
Well, we're just trying to come up with a compromise so that, we don't continue to keep going back to the drawing board.
Right. Sure. You just have to remember what our planner has said, that the magic distance between your house and the garage is 10 feet. You cannot cross that 10 foot.
We have 14 feet now.
Okay.
And for clarification, Justin, if then the heating, the HVAC, all that stuff goes to the east side, does that actually mess with that 10 feet, or is that not a factor?
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
Mr. Powell was right. Our ordinance doesn't allow air conditioning units or generators to be within 5 feet of a side lot line.
Yeah. But by putting it between the garage and the house, it would not mess with the 14 feet thing at all. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
I'd hate for them to get this all designed and then that be the surprise snag, you know?
Yeah. With that, Brian, I'm going to open the public hearing. Is there anybody in the audience that wishes to speak on this?
We have a caller. If you'd like to raise your hand, press *9 on your keypad. There are no hands raised at the moment. We'll give it a minute. *9 to raise your hand to be called on.
While we're waiting, Brian, if you have an old rotary dial phone, that doesn't work, right?
No, it doesn't. And the bat phone does not work either.
That was going to be my question, Brian.
Okay, no hands raised.
Thank you, Brian. With that, I'm going to close the public hearing and bring it back to the board for additional discussion, consideration, or a motion.
Madam Chair, under further discussion, I think it behooves the applicant, because we aren't charged to design this for them.
Correct.
They've heard our concerns, and I would very much like for them to voice what they might voluntarily be offering.
All right.
What I would suggest is to conform to your request is to move the addition 12 inches to the north and the missing square footage to add going towards the east. And to get your approval tonight in doing so, where the building official would verify at the time of building applications that we met all your criteria.
So that if I could put it in technical terms, you're asking us to change the requested side yard setback from 4.7 feet to 3.7 feet, resulting in a 6.3 feet instead of 5.3 feet. That's that additional foot that you just suggested.
Correct.
And you're willing to move the air conditioning unit to the east of the proposed addition, correct?
Correct.
I have a question, and maybe I'm not understanding. You're going to slide the whole addition to the east, and then you stated you would possibly enlarge it to the, to the north, and then enlarge it to the east to make up for the lost square footage. What square footage are you losing if you're taking the same size?
We're losing some of the proposed bathroom. Some of the proposed bathroom is in the existing home, and a portion of it is in the addition portion.
Oh, I see that piece up there.
Yeah, if you see that dotted line that kind of runs, that's the existing foundation of the current home.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And quite frankly, so the owners know this, we don't really care how much bigger you make that addition. That's not part of our the variance that's being requested. We're concerned about the side yard setback issue more than anything. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
One thing we have not discussed is the shed.
Good point. Yeah, they didn't let us know. Mr. Osmond, does that shed have a foundation under it, or is it slidable?
It does. It has a cement slab on there. We use it for storage. It's nice to have. Would prefer to keep it if we could. It's not, I don't think has anything to do with the addition. in anywhere near that area that we were proposing to do the addition.
It's not, but we like to minimize, we've caught now that that shed is a non-conforming structure. How good are you at with a chainsaw? No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding, Mr. Rosman.
Or a tow truck.
Or
Yeah, get a lot of there's a hill there. You could get a lot of speed. Yeah.
Board, what's our pleasure?
Well, I mean, it's just I mean, it's not, I mean, the shed is not part of the addition. But at the same time, yeah, I mean, if we're charged with trying to reduce or eliminate nonconformities.
We bought the house and the shed was there from like 2 previous owners before us. So it's been there quite some time. I don't know, 10 years or longer. And we bought the house knowing it was super small and counted on the shed as a storage unit. I'm a teacher. I have all kinds of teaching supplies in there.
Sure.
We have 3 children. We moved from a very large home in Brighton. Most of our belongings are in that shed because there's nowhere to put them in this house.
This property is a ½ acre in size, so that shed can be moved and put somewhere else that meets a setback.
Not by the water, it's out by the road. It's not close to the water or the house or the garage. There's still a lot of grass from the shed to the road if you drive by.
yeah, this doesn't bother me nearly as much as those sheds down near the water that sit just inches off property lines and the like. So it's not as big a deal to me, to my colleagues there.
If I can say something in regards to the shed, it's just basically one point that is just the corner of the shed that's 12 inches off or 6 inches off the property line. So if this is the property line, the shed is like this. So you don't get very far from that corner and you're 5 feet away from the property line.
Can the shed be pivoted a little bit so it's a little bit more parallel with the driveway and off of the line further, or what is that slab like?
I don't know. I've never looked in the shed.
I'm just curious. Yeah.
It's
throwing ideas out
it's
there.
a large square cement slab
Okay.
with a structure on top of it. We plan on replacing the front doors. We want them to look like barn doors because we thought it
that's
would
nice.
be more aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah.
Wendy, let me ask you, is it just sitting on the slab or is it actually bolted into the cement? Do you know?
It's a structure. It's attached to the
I believe it's attached. Moving it, like Dave said, it's just a corner that's getting near that lot line, and moving it would be, I think, quite a chore, just for what it's worth.
We could not move it. It would have to be torn down, Rick. We can't move that.
It just depends on how big the bulldozer is, right?
Yeah.
I'm kidding again, guys. I'm sorry. not a
I
joke,
personally don't have an issue with the shed. The square footage of the home is not that large, and living on the lake, you do need extra storage.
I agree, Debbie.
Yeah, and I'm really not having a huge issue with it. I just think we need to address it because as a board, we should at least point it out. And looking at, the neighbor, I mean, it's not like it's sitting, one, as Mr. Powell said, it's not down near the water, and 2, it's not like it's near the neighbor's house at all. So, yeah, a fire truck can easily maneuver. So.
I would point out, if it gets destroyed or damaged, it cannot be repaired where it's at. Put it that way.
Sure.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I'm just raising the question. I don't have any. I'm not drawing a line over the shed. So.
Do we have a motion then?
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion.
Okay, go ahead, Mike.
I move to approve the variance requested by the signature group of Livingston County, Inc. from Articles 3.1.6.e and 7.28A of the zoning ordinance for parcel number 12-18-101-025, identified as 2765 Ridge Road, in order to construct an addition that would encroach 3.7 feet into the side yard setback from the south lot line and exceed the allowable value of improvements to a non-conforming structure by 620.44%. A 19.51 foot variance from the required lot width is also granted from Article 3.1.6E. This approval will have the following conditions. The applicant shall obtain all necessary permits from the White Lake Township Building Department. In no event shall any projection of the roof overhang be closer than 5 feet to the south lot line, and the owner has agreed to have a 12 inch maximum overhang on the south side. An as-built survey shall be required to verify the roof overhang setback from the south lot line, and if the current shed is damaged in any way, it must be moved to comply with the township zoning ordinance.
Air conditioner.
Thank you. And the air conditioning units and any mechanical units must be moved around to the east side of the addition and not along the side yard setback.
Just for clarification, Mike, when you said if the shed is damaged, it has to be moved, you are talking now and into the future?
Yeah, now and into the future, if it's damaged to over 50% of its value, it must be moved to comply with the zoning ordinance.
Thank you. We have a support.
I'll second.
Thank you. Hannah, may we have a roll call, please?
Powell,
Yes, I believe this lot is a classic hardship, and certainly the applicant is trying to improve their home and the neighborhood. So it's not a self-imposed hardship.
Schlack,
I'm voting yes. I also see the practical difficulty. I do think it'll give substantial justice in that it'll be more similar. It'll be closer to the other homes in the neighborhood, and I do believe this is going to be a really great improvement. And I love what your family's trying to do with the house.
DeHart,
Yes, for the reasons stated.
Spencer,
Yes, while we are charged with eliminating nonconformity, it is obvious that the proponent and the company that's going to build it, Signature Group, has listened to our concerns and has worked to downsize a lot of the areas we had concerns with. And so for that, I definitely am voting yes. This is a non-conforming lot, and it's always tough to try and improve it if we can. And they've worked well with us, and we thank them for it.
Walls,
I vote yes, that the applicant has demonstrated that a hardship does exist with the existing structure and as the lot is non-conforming.
And with that, Rick, Wendy, and company, you have your you have your approval. You have to give staff a few days to get a copy of the rough draft minutes. You will need those for our building department. You'll need to pull a permit within 6 months, or you're going to be back before us again. Good luck.
We'll be there on Monday.
Congratulations to you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
With that, our next case is Brandon Gibson, 1349 Sugden Lake Road, identified as 1234-351-016. The applicant requests to construct an addition to a single-family house requiring a variance from Article 3.1.6.e R1G single-family residential front yard setback. A variance from Article 7.28A repairs and maintenance to non-conforming structures will be required due to both the value of improvements and the increase in cubic content. For the record, 12 notices were sent to the owner occupant within 300 feet. 1 letter received in favor, no letters received in opposition, and no letters received by United States Mail. And with that, may we have staff report, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just for anyone listening, I want to temper expectations with the minutes. The staff has 8 days to prepare them, so they're probably not going to be ready on Monday.
Okay, thank you. I didn't know that, Justin.
That's all right. So on the monitor or on your screen is, oh, that's not what I wanted. Where did that go? All right, that's better. On the screen is a survey provided by the applicant. This property is just over 3/10 of an acre in size that for the land that's located outside of the water and outside of the road right of way. It's zoned R1D. The house on the property is approximately 1,300 square feet in size. The applicant's proposing, well, let me back up a second. This survey shows a house here on the east side of the property that's located about 4.5 feet from this corner from the south lot line. So north is on the left side of the screen. The staff report mentioned a building permit being issued last October for renovations to this house. That building permit was issued prior to variances being required. There should have been a variance required for the front yard setback and value of improvements to a non-conforming structure. However, the work that has been done on this house is deviated from that building permit issued in October. So this is not an after the fact variance. There's no issue with that. Just to quickly, this is a picture, and I don't know how old it is, but that was the house, and here was the garage. And this is the house today, or 2 days ago. That garage is gone. So that building permit that was issued by the township did not allow for the demolition of the garage. It allowed for the garage to be converted to living space and then a second story on top of it. So that building permit is void. There's no issue with that. And then work on the proposed garage has not commenced. So just wanted to clarify that for everyone. We're starting from scratch with that. So this is the survey. Again, there's the applicant's proposing now at this point to where this garage was. They intend to reconstruct that footprint and put a second story over it. And then to the north of that, they would do a new attached 2-car garage that would be 24 feet by 24 feet in size. That would be 576 square feet. The addition, now at this point, it's going to be a 2-story addition because there's no garage there now. So the second floor before was going to be 1,168 square feet in size. You would double that for the area on the first floor at this point. The setback is measured from the road right-of-way line. There's a 30-foot front yard setback in R1D. This dashed line here is the road right-of-way line, so that front face of the new first floor addition would be 6.9 feet from the right-of-way line. So they're requesting a 23.1 foot variance. And then the repairs and maintenance to a non-conforming structure. Again, we all know the standard. It's 50% of the SEV in 12 months. The SEV of this structure is $73,240. The maximum extent of improvements cannot exceed $36,620. The value of work is $200,000, so a variance of 546% to exceed the allowed value is being requested. If you have any questions, I would be glad to answer them.
Thank you. Does
I have
anyone
I have a question of staff. Justin, when I was out there, there appeared to be a blue tarp. It's extending kind of towards the lake. There is no proposed addition going lakeside of the current home, is there?
There shouldn't be, because there's no permit for it. So, and just,
Okay.
yeah.
We can ask the applicant. So
Yeah.
Thank you.
I have a picture of that. I don't know if it would it actually, if I could actually pick it up here or not.
I
I'm
can
trying to
put it
do-
on. Can you see my screen? Because I've got the same picture
Yeah.
that Nick's
Okay, great.
got.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just took mine today.
And it's hard to see, but this tarp
Yeah.
doesn't wrap around. So
Yeah.
no one's obviously living in this structure at this point. So it's unoccupied.
Mhm.
So here's Justin where I need some clarification. So the variance that's requested, it has this picture on it that says, sorry, I'm trying to pull it up again.
Yeah, I can put it up for you, Nick, because I know where it's showing this, right?
Yes, thank you.
So
So,
this box is not there anymore.
right, yeah, so that's gone. I mean, what we received on, February 17th here, it says, shows this as existing garage to be converted.
Right. That was when the building permit that was issued in air allowed.
Right.
So that hasn't happened because it was demolished. They
Gotcha.
demolished it. It was done outside of the building permit.
And I can ask them this when it gets to that point, but I'm just assuming, well, I guess it doesn't matter too much. I'm just assuming maybe that garage wouldn't have withheld a 2-story or something.
And I'm sorry if my staff report wasn't clear. That's the way it was framed in the application and on the drawing. And then when I actually drove out there, I'm like, oh, the garage is gone. So that actually made me feel better about the building permit that was issued last October because it's void at this point.
Yeah. So even though the design is, really there's just more of a point of information, I guess, but even though the thing that's submitted is different from what we're really voting on, does that throw off our ability to vote on this tonight?
No, because the only thing that, well, what was submitted has stayed the same. It's just the circumstances around it have changed. So the way it was presented, and I'll try to frame this as clearly as I can, the garage was going to remain the 2-car garage that you saw in this photo. Oh, sorry, wrong screen. This was never meant to be totally demolished. The way the application was framed was that this roof would come off, and long story short, taking out the building side of it, they just go up and do the second story and do the garage over here. Well, now this garage is gone. So I think that plays into it a little bit where that was a non-conforming garage and they were just going to put a second story over it and they weren't going to increase the setback. They were going to go right up. Well, now that garage is gone.
Yeah.
So that non-conformity is gone and they want to put it back.
I think that's where I was going with this. So you said it better than my questions were going. Thank you.
Any other questions of staff? If not, then Mr. Gibson, you're up.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
I want to thank everyone for having us. It's funny. It seems like everyone lives on a lake.
Or wish that they did.
One of the two.
With our permits, I guess I thought that the building department knew that we were taking the garage and making that, or taking the garage and tearing that part down. Just the intent was only to keep the foundation there and use the whole existing footprint of the house and the garage, and then redo, or I guess build up where the garage was. So that's going to be the new 800 square foot of addition. And then where we spoke with the building department was having the detached garage, a new garage, I'm going to say, 10 foot away. But we ran into some issues with the elevation. I don't know if you guys, when you guys walked or went out there, where the existing garage is and where the proposed detached garage would be, there was about roughly a 6-foot elevation change. If you were to build a detached garage there, you have multiple issues. The one was drainage from the house going down to the garage. And then number 2, obviously with that 10 foot, you have minimums of your stairs. And it kind of became an issue with how many stairs do you put down, and within that 10 foot, you're probably not gonna have enough room with the 10 foot and then that 6 foot height or 6 foot elevation change. So they also recommended that we go in for a variance for the attached garage. Let's see here. And then, yeah, it was, as far as the side yard, my neighbor, I believe he's the one, or my direct neighbor, I believe he's the one that wrote the letter, Jeff, or yeah, it was Jeff and Michelle. They're in full support of us redoing the house, and they have no issues with where it currently sits. And again, the whole idea is to use that existing house and garage footprint. We're not trying to change that at all. So we got the house about 6 years ago, and there are, well, I guess just like a lot of people said, there were so many issues with this place. I'm in the industry, so I could do a lot of it on my own to help save some of the cost. And I mean, it was just crazy. So I guess one of the hardships, going back to the value of improvement variance, one of the hardships was the reason for the cost exceeding the taxable value is due to the amount of work needing to be done to bring the code actually up to home, or bring the home up to code. Geez, I can't talk. For instance, we're redoing all of the electrical in the whole house. Nothing was grounded. The basement, we're actually lowering the slab because the top of the slab up to the bottom of your joist was only 6 foot. And then you have your runs for your HVAC and whatnot, and people would hit their, I don't know, it was just a mess. People would hit their heads. And then there was a door or a slider door going out to the lakeside, and there was actually a drop in the slab. I don't know. Well, let's see, it was a 6 foot door, and there was a drop in the slab. So walking in, you'd actually have a step you'd have to go up. So it kind of became a major trip hazard. So we're actually dropping the whole slab there to increase the ceiling height on that main area as well. But again, I guess overall the intention was to keep that whole existing footprint.
And there also is pretty significant cracking within the black wall of the main home that needed to be repaired as well. That was kind of a big issue.
Hey, any questions for the proponent? Mike?
Yes, first of all, I want to let the applicant know, Stephanie and Brandon know that we totally understand wanting to improve your house. And so because of that, at least me, I do not place much concern in the increased cost to improve your house. You're trying to improve White Lake Township and your home and the neighborhood. And so that amount you're spending is, although a little hard on your pocketbook, it's not one of my major concerns. So that's not the biggest concern. It's the setback variances that you're asking for that concern me anyway, and my colleagues can represent themselves. I guess I have a question. You had wondered how the building department and planning department may have misinterpreted your intent. They obviously have construction drawings on file as to what you had intended on doing for your house there. And the drawing that you submitted, I think it was in February, done by Grant Ward, it shows a new attached garage. So in your plans that you submitted to the building department, does it show that you are going to have a detached garage?
Correct. Yep. The original plans were to have a detached garage 10 foot away, and that way we would still keep our existing footprint. We wouldn't touch that at all. But then getting into the project, the issue came into play about the actual elevation and the drainage, and then the actually building steps from the detached to the house itself.
So have you submitted revised plans then to the building department?
No, we did a site plan, but that was it.
All right. Because it was represented by our planner that the intent of the drawings that they have was that you were going to leave the existing garage and just put a second story on the existing garage. And are you saying that that's different than what the plans actually show?
I don't think so then.
Okay.
I think it was just an error on, I'm going to say the architect's part on how he illustrated the actual prints themselves.
Okay, so here's my overriding question. You do understand the issue that there's a setback requirement from the right-of-way of the roadway.
Correct.
This is a little bit of a unique road. Sugden Lake Road is a larger right-of-way than most right-of-ways are in subdivisions. And so you have that issue that you're dealing with. Could you explain to me why you couldn't move now that the garage has been taken down? And I have no idea what kind of footing is under where the garage used to be. Why you couldn't move that addition back away from the right of way and closer to the lake?
We actually have our septic behind, or probably 20 feet behind the, behind the garage there, or the existing garage.
The other issue is that the elevation to, like, from the walkout, if you were to walk out of our garage, it drops straight down. The way that our house is really built, it's kind of up on a hill. And so we would have to change the whole grade of our backyard in order to move that structure back. So that would be a big issue.
Yeah, I think most of us came out and actually took pictures and walked around out there. I heard somebody tinkering underneath the blue tarp when I was out there today. So without a doubt, you'd actually do some filling, or you'd have to build a retaining wall to hold the garage or the house floor up and have a big drop off outside that addition. So you're correct there. So you are it does look as though you're trying, you'll jog the garage back though, according to the drawing we have.
Yeah, and that was, I'm glad you noticed that. So ideally we were to keep it all in line, but we pushed it back another 3 feet.
Okay, because that one, of course, you don't have any foundation, you don't have any slab, you're not saving anything for that new attached garage. Could you tell me what are you saving construction wise as part of the existing garage?
So there's two things. Number one, we might actually just underpin the footings. And number two, if we were to keep that existing footprint and then take out the old footings, now not having virgin soil, you're going to run into a big issue. So it just makes life a lot easier just keeping the existing footprint and
the slab is already there as well. Yeah.
Okay, so the slab and the foundation, it's a frost foundation underneath where the existing garage used to be?
No, it's not. So that's where we would underpin to make it frost.
Okay, but you try to save the slab.
Right.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions of the proponent? If not, then Brian, I'd like to open the public hearing, please. And while you're searching for anyone in the audience, I want to read a letter that was in file. It's from Jeffrey and Michelle Rice. Their address is 1361 Sugden Lake Road, dated February 23rd, 2021. Dear Township officials, we, Jeffrey and Michelle Rice, the neighbors of Brandon and Stephanie Gibson, would like to express our support for the Gibson Home Addition and do not have any issues in regards to the variance and/or location. Sincerely, Jeffrey and Michelle Rice. Ryan, do we have anyone from the audience that wishes to speak on this?
No callers at the moment.
Thank you. Then I will close the public hearing, but if someone pops in, please let us know and we will reopen the public hearing.
I will let you
And
know. Thank you.
bring it back to the board for any discussion or a motion.
Madam Chair, I do want to point out something. Not only were we out there looking and taking pictures, but from the aerial anyway, and possibly Justin can verify this. It appears from the Oakland Gateway aerial, the home just to the south of this one, the neighbor, their house actually looks like it's closer to the right-of-way line than this home is. And so the variance being requested is not a great deal different than the existing home adjacent to this one.
Okay. And Justin, just a real quick question. And I'm not going to put you on the spot. Just a little guess on your part. What are the chances of county claiming any of that road right of way? I figure it's probably slim to probably none. Okay.
You're probably pretty accurate there.
All right. Debbie?
I happen to live on the road and walk the road frequently, almost every day. And I too do not feel that the road commission is going to do, I mean, we're thrilled when the road commission takes some branches back because it's almost a one-lane road in spots. So, and that lot in particular has a lot of challenges with the slope, the road right of way, and the water in the back.
Thank you. If there's no further discussion, shall we entertain a motion?
If I can just ask staff, Justin, another question, if I could.
Sure.
Even though we've been provided a plan here that shows a jog in the garage back further from the proposed house, although it would be really nice architecturally, and I like the concept, more room for parking, all that kind of stuff. If we grant a variance as requested, they could, with submitting brand new plans, sounds like they need to submit new plans to the building department anyway. They could, in fact, just have the garage even with the setback that we might offer them, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments? Then how about a motion? Remember, you made me chair. I can't make motions.
I'll make a motion.
Go ahead, Debbie.
I move to approve the variances requested by Brandon Gibson from Articles 3.1.6.e and 7.28a of the zoning ordinance for the parcel number 12-34-351-016, identified as 1349 Sugden Lake Road, in order to construct an attached garage and second-story addition that would encroach 23.1 feet into the required front yard setback and exceed the allowed value of improvements to a non-conforming structure by 546.5 or 546%. This approval will have the following conditions. The applicant shall obtain all necessary permits from White Lake Township Building Department.
Thank you. Do we have a support?
Support.
Thank you, Dave. Hannah, may we have a roll call, please?
DeHart,
Yes, I feel that the lot offers challenges, and this will be a great improvement to the neighborhood.
Walls,
I vote yes. There's a hardship that exists with the existing structure and lot, and it's non-conforming.
Spencer,
Yes, I see a practical difficulty and there is a hardship as well.
who didn't I get? Powell,
I'm going to vote yes as well. We are not proposing, or the applicant is not proposing any increase in the nonconformity. And Sugden Lake Road is a larger right-of-way, wider right-of-way than the normal subdivision road, thus providing even a larger hardship than normal.
Shellac,
I vote yes. I see the practical difficulty and do see a hardship as well. And I believe this is going to be a good improvement to the neighborhood.
With that, you do have your variance approval. Please give staff about 8 days for a rough draft copy of the minutes. You will need those when you go to the building department. If you don't pull a permit within the next 6 months, you'll have to be back in front of us again. Good luck.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
And with that, our next case is John Rosansky. The location is 8565 Pontiac Lake Road, also identified as 1213-328-003. The applicant requests to construct an apartment building, an associated parking lot, requiring variances from Article 3.1.9.e, RM2, multiple family, residential side yard setback, and minimum lot width. A variance from Article 3.11.q, natural features setback is required due to the building being located in the wetland setback. A variance from Article 5.11.a, off-street parking, is required due to the parking setbacks. A variance from Article 5.19.n.i.c, dumpsters and trash storage enclosures, is required for the dumpster projection in front of a principal building. For the record, 10 notices were sent within 300 feet to the owners or occupants of record. No letters received in variance. No letters received, I'm sorry, in favor. No letters received in opposition. No letters returned non-deliverable by United States mail. And I must say that after doing 3.1.6 R1D for the last several cases, it was tough getting through this description. And with that, may we have staff report?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This property is approximately 3 acres in size. It has split zoning. It's zoned RM2, which is multiple family, and R1D, which is single family. The center line of the Pontiac Lake Road right-of-way is the zoning district boundary line. So everything to the north of the center line is R1D, and everything to the south of the center line is multiple family. There are 2 existing buildings on the property on the south side of Pontiac Lake Road. They are both proposed to be demolished, and the applicant would construct a 14-unit apartment building. This project did go to the Planning Commission on February 18th, and that body did recommend approval of the preliminary site plan with conditions. One of the conditions being the applicant receive variances from the Zoning Board of Appeals for a number of deficiencies from ordinance requirements. Another condition was moving the sidewalk that's shown here along the Pontiac Lake Road right-of-way to be in the Pontiac Lake Road right-of-way and not on the property, and then subject to all staff and consultant review comments and recommendations. So this project, again, is a 2-story building with a garden level, which is realistically a basement, totaling 12,967 square feet in size, with 10 2-bedroom units and 4 1-bedroom units. The basement and first levels are each 4,365 square feet in size and contain 2 1-bedroom units and 3 2-bedroom units. The second level is 4,237 square feet in size and contains 4 2-bedroom units. The minimum, getting into the deficiencies, side yard setback in the RM2 zoning district is 70 feet on one side, 100 feet total of 2 sides. So the applicant, and I'll try to zoom way in here to make it easier to see, is showing a 30-foot setback on the west side of the building. So that would mean that the east side yard setback would need to be 70 feet. This proposed side yard setback is 27.7 feet. So they're requesting a 42.3 foot variance for that. And then just for reference, the property to the east is zoned R1C, which is single family residential, and the property to the west is zoned RM2 multiple family. The zoning ordinance does have a setback from water features, natural feature setback of 25 feet from any regulated wetland, submerged land, water course, pond, stream, or similar body of water. The label on this plan at 25.4 feet is actually inconsistent with the setback line that's drawn on all of these plans. And I'll zoom way in here and try to depict it. So that dashed line is the water feature setback, and the building is approximately 1/2 foot into it. So regardless of this label, the way this is drawn, it's a 1/2 foot into the setback. The architectural plans for this show the building about 4 feet into the setback, with the balcony, this balcony. So all the patios and balconies are in the setback. The at the closest point, which is here, it's 16.5 feet from the wetland boundary. So they're requesting an 8.5 foot variance. I would say that, just for clarity's sake, that this is more realistic for what the building is. And the architectural plans show the balconies and patios better. So that's just for your viewing. Parking variances are also being requested. So the zoning ordinance requires parking for non-single family residential and non-residential uses to meet the front yard setback requirement of the underlying zoning district. If there is a green belt, a 20-foot green belt, then the setback on the front may be reduced to 20 feet if it's landscaped in conformance with the zoning ordinance. The minimum front yard setback in RM2 is 40 feet at the closest point, which is this corner here at the northwest corner. The parking lot, it's 10 feet from the right-of-way line. So because there's not a 20-foot green belt, the applicant's requesting a 30-foot variance for the front parking setback. And then parking for non-single family residential and non-residential uses may be permitted in the side yard setback if all green belt or screening requirements of the ordinance are met. The zoning ordinance offers many different options to screen properties that are adjacent based on the zoning, and I'm not going to read through that, but your staff report listed different screening options. None of them are proposed at this point. So the parking lot on the east and the west sides are 5 feet from the lot line. So on the east side, a 65-foot variance is being requested, and on the west side, a 25-foot variance is being requested for the parking setbacks. The zoning ordinance also does not allow a trash enclosure, dumpsters to project in front of a principal building or be located within the front yard setback. This dumpster here is projecting 46 feet away from the building, and it's projecting 2.5 feet into the 40-foot front yard setback. So they're requesting a 46-foot variance to allow the projection in front of the building, and then a 2.5-foot variance to encroach into the setback from the right-of-way line. Just to cover our bases with the lot size, with 200 feet minimum lot width required in the RM2 district, and this parcel being 170 feet wide at the street line, this is getting, or they're seeking a 30-foot variance to address the width deficiency. And then this is something that did come up at Planning Commission, and we haven't had a chance to have this discussion with the applicant yet, but the zoning ordinance does require curbing around parking areas, and they're not showing curbing on this plan. So if you're inclined to do any type of approval, the staff would recommend that you condition the approval on bumper blocks being installed along all these parking spaces, or you could require the curbing if you know, that's up to you. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer it.
Thank you. Does anybody have questions of staff? Go ahead, Nick.
So I'm looking at the wetland issue right now. And then you said, you showed the inconsistency between the two drawings where the line will be, the setback, whether it's a 1/2 foot or maybe I think you said 8 feet projecting into it. Which plan did the Planning Commission approve?
They approved the whole preliminary site plan, so which included all this. The building is a 1/2 foot into the setback. The balcony is 8.5 feet into the setback. So you're granting a variance from the closest point, which is the balcony.
So even though there's an inconsistency in the drawings,
they're going to have to revise all these plans to make them consistent if you go the route of approval. And they know that. They've had a conversation with the planning director, and the inconsistencies on the architectural plans will be cleaned up.
Along that part of the Huron River, do you know of other, because when I was just driving down there today, just kind of seeing again, there's certainly more than one, apartment kind of, or multiple home, structures. Do other ones go into the wetlands like that far, or into the setback? I'm sorry.
I don't have the answer to that
question. I know I'm trying to be the Riddler here, every piece of property down there, but I'm just kind of wondering, 8 feet, 8.5, whatever, 8 feet in. It just seems to be going in quite a bit.
Can I clarify that, please?
We're not yet.
No, yep, you'll have to wait, sir.
Okay.
So I'm just trying to get a sense of what seems to be consistent down there, and I don't know. I know we've had many votes on things with lakes. I just don't personally recall one that had to deal with wetlands before.
Yeah, I will say that if I just to summarize, I think the general feeling of the Planning Commission is that an improvement to the property they thought would be beneficial to the entire area, and they left the dimensional standards to the discretion of the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Yeah, it's certainly a really nice looking design, and yeah, I have no question about that.
Justin.
And Debbie is our Planning Commission liaison.
Yes, she is.
She could probably talk about it, but I heard from the planning director, and that was the consensus.
Do we need to bring up and because this was a large concern of mine, the vacant lot across the street is a lakefront lot that will, I'm assuming, have to have DQ permission to put, I know the applicant wants to put 14 boat docks out there on that vacant lot. is that something that we need to address, or is that something that we let the DEQ address? Because they're going to probably have to apply for a dock permit.
Right. So the township can get involved if they want to. But they would ultimately need DEQ approval or Eagle at this point for the docks. But if the township said, you can have 10 slips instead of 14, or the planning commission didn't address that. The township board could when they saw the preliminary site plan. If this gets approved tonight in some shape, way, or form, it will make its way to the township board for approval of the preliminary site plan, and then they would have to go back to the planning commission for final site plan. Depending on what happens, I don't know how you're going to shake out on these variances. If there's any significant changes tonight, this may be referred back to the planning commission. If the changes are minor in scope, then they would just be made and go on to the township board. So that's the direction.
Justin, could you pull the picture back, the plan back up again? So just, and then if we scroll down towards, okay, so I'm thinking about that amount of asphalt on the property, and when it rains. And so then I'm seeing a silt fence, a gravel filter over on the left side. It looks like there's an underground detention system.
You're correct.
I'm trying to put. Yeah, just maybe this is actually a Debbie question, but I mean, just from the planning commission standpoint, was there concern expressed about? I mean, if you have a heavy rainfall, is that going to pretty much go down and rush the river?
No, there wasn't, and we did have Mike from DLZ, the engineering firm, review everything, and he didn't seem to have a drainage issue.
Yep.
Okay.
Justin, do you have the elevation of the buildings that we saw? So I think some of the planning commissioners had some concern about, and I guess this is personal as to whether you find this look attractive. There was something about
Pete Maher, Planning Commissioner Maher, had a comment about the look of the building from the street.
And my concern was the fact that, and I know the applicants did talk about this, I didn't like seeing all that parking lot and then the building in the back. I would have preferred the building up front and the parking in the back, but they said they tried to work that in and couldn't. My other concern during the planning commission meeting was the reason they're asking for so many variances because they're asking for to construct 14 units. If they constructed a smaller building, they would not have to ask for all these variances. That's correct, right, Justin?
Probably, yeah. If the building footprint was reduced, I mean, they'd probably still likely need variances because of just the configuration of the property itself. They may be reduced.
Any other questions of staff? Mike?
I knew that you'd know I'd have something here.
Well, of course, as a representative from the town board, certainly.
Of course. Very astute of you, Nick, to notice the underground storage. Certainly, there's no room left on this site for any detention, retention above ground. And so underground detention is a valid way to store the stormwater, and then they restrict it out to a smaller pipe leaving that underground storage so it doesn't end up with a deluge into the drain or the stream after a rainstorm. I would hope that the township engineer would require some kinds of vortex chamber, which is a mechanical cleaning device in this system somewhere, but that's way down the line. With me looking over this, I think Debbie's impressions are right on here. It's virtually every single one of the variance requests are due to the fact that they're trying to put a great deal on this site. I think that the existing buildings need help. So I would certainly concur with the justification of the planning commission that something is better than nothing, but is this better than just something? The developer is trying to get every single dollar he can. And Debbie, there is an advantage, obviously, having the building down on the slope, because you can take up slope in a building and actually capture building space where it'd be very difficult to design a parking lot down on those slopes. And so it'd be a tiered parking lot, which would be much harder to build. I'm struggling myself of not claiming that this is a self-imposed hardship. They want what they want, and they're not necessarily taking into account the township ordinance. I also don't like a dumpster that close to a residentially zoned piece of property. So if a home gets built just to the, and I'm a little bit skewed on the directions there, Justin. I see Pontiac Lake Road kind of going northeast, northwest, southeast. And so this would kind of be on the south side of the road is kind of the way I look at it. But to the right or towards 59, I think that's zoned residential, is it not?
Yep, to the right, if you're looking at it from above, it's zoned R1C, single family residential.
So whether or not single family residential is the right use for that is a whole different issue. And it's not going to be used as boat storage forever. But if a single family home goes in there and they come in at 6 o'clock in the morning and empty that dumpster out, it's going to be an incredible alarm for that single family home there to the right or to the south. I'm having a personal problem with this, guys, and I don't know. I'm anxious to hear the rest of your thoughts.
We have to, I think, hear the proponent first, correct?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes. If there's no more questions from staff, then Mr. Howard, you wanted to say something? Feel free to jump in, either you or Mr. Rosansky.
Thank you very much for listening to our variances tonight. I do want to make a clarification, and I'm not saying that what Justin has determined is incorrect. What I want to just clarify is that the balconies / cantilever of the building does not go down to grade. So in my opinion, we designed this building. Yes, we need to move the face of the building back 6 inches to get it out of, so the foundation / garden level wall is outside of our natural features. But once we get up above that 8-10 feet, in my opinion, why can't you then cantilever into a natural features not touching the ground? So I just wanted to find out how the board felt about, my interpretation of it with regards to the natural features.
So to follow through on that a little bit, let me come back as a question. Certainly that question is a good one for Justin, but from our standpoint, that means you will not have any sidewalk, no patio, nothing except natural vegetation right up to the building's edge on the walk outside.
Yeah, we would remove those patios that were shown on there, and actually have our mulch walkway come right up to the building's edge.
And you don't believe that mulch walkway is an encroachment in the natural features area?
I haven't seen a true definition to say that it isn't.
Okay.
If I could,
Sure.
I live on the lake. My family's had a place in there since I was born in '63. So grew up on the lake, and I pontoon on the lake, and my kids were raised on the lake. And I was driving by a few years back when I purchased the property and saw that it was for sale. And I'm getting close to retirement. I'm a former firefighter in White Lake. And I thought to myself, I says, I remember those buildings being there for years and years growing up. And I said, I'm also a master electrician, so I have a contracting business as well. And I says, I can build something there. I can put an apartment building there or something like that that's already existing. So I spoke with Brian, who's a neighbor and a friend, and we built something. The reason that the previous owner sold the building was because the septic failed. So when I purchased it, I think I approached Mr. Powell as well to try to get you involved in it. And you said, conflict of interest, whatever. And I was kind of new to this. So I think I was recommended to go to Keith Engineering, and I got Mike Lufkin with DLZ involved as well. So them meeting me on the site several times. I put a grinder station in there, to accommodate a building. They told me I could put 14 units there. So that's kind of what I went with without going into a community well. So we built a footprint based on what I thought I would have to invest in the property and make it economical for me. Not that I want, heck, I don't know if I could put 20 units there or 50 units there. I was told I could put 14 units there without creating more of expense to myself, and what I think I would have to put into the unit, the structure, in order to get, a reasonable income out of it. As far as the docks go, like I said, I don't plan on putting marina there. I have to live there. I want to see something, a nice building put there. We have a drawing of a modern high-end building that we'd like to go. I didn't know that the structure would be such a challenging build site. I did, based on the topography a little bit, but I'm willing to do what I have to, provided that I can still make, an income out of the property after what I have to put in and invest into it. So, we had originally wanted the parking in the rear, between Keith Engineering. He's like, no, we can't do that. We need to put the parking in front. Brian worked very hard. So on trying to get these, everything to fit the way it did, whether it's pushing the building back to the left, to the right. As far as the variances go, I'm not so sure. I don't know what to do with it. I just know that I'm trying to put something there that I think will possibly be a catalyst to improve the buildings next to it. As far as Mr. Powell was saying, the residents that owns the building to the south of me, the house is already on the lake side of Pontiac Lake Road. There is a residence there. He owns it. He owns the Last Resort Marina. Therefore, building a house behind Pontiac Lake Road, which would be next to me, I don't think he would be able to do that based on where the existing house is. So that's what I have to say. I'm hoping, that I can put something there that will, beautify the neighborhood. It's in desperate need of it. I don't know if you've all been by there. I did take a video, and I have some pictures that I could share with you if you haven't seen it, but me having to live there the next 30 or 40 years, I plan on being able to look at something and say, you know what, I did a good job and it looks pretty good. So
as John stated, we did attempt to put the building right on Pontiac Lake Road. And we got to the point where we almost submitted it for approval, for preliminary site plan approval, and it was determined that it was not cost prohibitive at all. We had almost a 20-foot tall retaining wall we had to build on the back side along Huron River just to get the parking to work. Tiered parking didn't even work, Mike. It just, there was no way to physically do it. Then we ultimately flipped the building, put it on the river, buried it into the hill. Unbeknownst to me, I didn't even realize there was a natural feature setback. I knew there was a wetlands. I didn't realize you then had to be 25 feet off of that wetlands. And that was a bit of a struggle. Also, trying to keep an existing grinder pump intact and not getting into that became a challenge. Getting under stormwater detention was a challenge. There are a million challenges on this site. And I think this is an extremely unique site. I think there's a natural hardship, and it's the site that's the hardship. This is a practical difficulty. I don't think even reducing, say we built 10 units, say we built 8 units, I'm still going to need 4 or 5 variances on this particular property. Why do I have 100-foot side yard setback on a property that's 170 feet wide? That's ridiculous. So I understand what everybody's saying with regards to maybe this is too big of a building for this site, but let's look at the site. Let's look at the challenges that this site proposes to us. And in my opinion, as the architect, and John will concur, we have exercised and we have tried desperately to move the trash enclosure so it's not on the street. There's no other place to put it. There just physically isn't. And so we plan on screening. We will absolutely landscape the heck out of this site. By moving the sidewalk to the right of way, actually gave us a buffer to be able to run landscaping along the front of our parking. We're willing to put a fence, anything along there, along the sides. I didn't even realize fences were required. That's my fault. And so we are proposing tonight that we will absolutely put fences.
I would like to gate the property. I would like to, gate it in the front if I could. I would like a very upscale and very private setting for the people. And to do that as well on the lakefront side as well, and make it a nice frontage for them. So.
Okay, anybody have any other questions for the proponents?
Madam Chair?
Yes, go
if
ahead, David.
the proponent has something that would allow us to make a decision one way or another, I suppose I thought I heard a statement along the lines of additional pictures or something. I wouldn't mind seeing that at all for review.
Okay. John, do you have pictures you wanted to show us?
Yes, if I can do this, I should be able to go to screen share or share screen?
Oh, don't ask me.
Oh.
I think Brian's there.
Yes, at the bottom of your Zoom window, you should have a button to share screen.
Okay. And then do I go to, can I pick files from my desktop or do I have to go to Dropbox? I downloaded them to both yesterday.
Probably be easier to just choose the files from your
Files.
desktop.
Oh, did I lose everybody?
Nope, you're still here.
So here.
Oh, boy. All right, I'm gonna go back out of that. Heck. I don't know how to get to my desktop from here.
Another thing you could do is if you were to just open the file and then you go back to screen share again, you could probably select the box that shows the file already open.
I have a file on my desktop though. Okay, so let me. Darn it. I'm sorry, I'm very new at this.
In the meantime, Madam Chair, should we open up the public hearing at all?
We can definitely do that if the board is in agreement. We'll give you some time to try and get that up, John. In the meantime,
Okay.
Brian, can we open the public hearing?
Yes, we have no callers at the moment.
Okay, well, we'll give John about 30 seconds and any callers that may be out there.
Gosh.
Maybe we could take a 5-minute recess while John's trying to figure it out.
Yes, I think that's appropriate.
Yeah, if you do open up the file itself and have it then ready to go, and then loop back to your screen share, it should be one of the options to click on.
Okay, I'll try that. So I found them here. So I've got the pics.
Okay.
Are they up now?
No.
I don't think we should take a recess in the middle of a public hearing.
Okay, I will close the public hearing considering no one has let Brian know that.
No callers.
Thank you. Then we're going to close the public hearing. It is now 9:06. How about if we meet back here in 5 minutes?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to be able to open these. I just don't know how to get to my.
Mr. Walls, what photo are you want, like a Google Street View? Because I can throw, I mean, what are you looking for?
I thought that the proponent had some additional photos or anything that he wanted to share with the board here for us to assist in coming to a decision.
Yeah, I think all John has is existing photos of the site.
Yeah, if you guys have driven by the site.
I've seen it.
We have, John, we have all been out to the site.
Oh, okay.
In the last.
Okay. Well, Mr. Waltz was asking, yeah, but that's all I have is some pictures of that, and I took a video. I didn't know if anybody was going out there or not.
Oh, no. One of the rules is you better be out there to look at the site if you want to sit on this board.
Okay.
So with that, we will not go into a recess and we will bring it back to the board for any additional comments.
I have a question of staff, if I could.
Here, Mike.
Justin, what is the ratio of parking spaces to units? If you have a 1-bedroom or a 2-bedroom unit, what's the zoning ordinance requirement for parking with either of those?
2 spaces per unit, regardless of the number of bedrooms. Then they have to have, based on the number of units, 6 spaces for guest parking. So they have 34 total parking spaces required, and that's what they're providing. So they're providing the minimum required number of parking spaces.
So let me ask a theoretical question, and I don't want to necessarily go too deep into it. We have a number of variance requests before us tonight, and a number of those are density, in my opinion, are density related.
Mm.
If we were to, or let me say it differently, if the owner were to voluntarily remove 1 unit off each floor and shrink the building width down, that reduces the side yard setback variance. It also reduces the amount of parking required, which would allow for bigger setbacks on both sides of the parking lot itself. How do we don't have control over the density though. So
in that scenario, you would refer this back to the Planning Commission with direction. The Planning Commission, if there would have to the applicant would have to make a change, have that approved by the Planning Commission, then it would come back to the Zoning Board of Appeals with a different plan.
With hopefully lesser requested variances.
That would be the path that you described.
Okay, I didn't know whether or not we would table or would we take action if we did something like that?
You'd have to go back to the Planning Commission. So you would deny this and refer it back to the Planning Commission.
But I wouldn't necessarily want them to have to reapply with all the fees and everything again, because the variance request would be less than what's been advertised.
But it's a different site plan than the planning commission approved. That's the issue.
I see.
The planning commission made a recommendation on the site plan that's before you. Anything that's a substantive change needs to go back to the planning commission.
Yeah, and I just can't help but see some things that I would ask the township engineer to look at. I for the life of me cannot get a garbage truck. I can't even fathom how a garbage truck gets in to pick up the dumpsters and back out of this site. And so same thing with the fire department. So those kind of things might change some of the dimensions as well.
We did talk with the fire department, with John Holland, and we do meet the requirements for driveway and being able to turn around an apparatus in there, me being on the department as well. But
good. So
I'm assuming if we can get an engine in there at 32 feet, we can get a dump truck in there or a garbage truck. But, I was going to ask, I understand what Justin was saying about resubmitting to the planning commission. If I do talk with Brian and we can shave off, I think what you said is 1 unit per floor.
That's kind of where I was heading.
If that's something that we can do, would it be, I don't mind doing, like I said, I didn't know, we have a budget number on what we want to be able to put into the building and what we have to get out economically to make it a fiscal project. 3 units to me, if I build 11 units as opposed to 14, if it helps me be able to do that project, then I'm for it. I just need to talk with Brian because he has some numbers done, but I don't mind doing that at all if it's going to help with being able to build on that site, like I said. So
How about a reduction of 2 parking spaces to 1.5 per unit?
Well, I wasn't necessarily that doesn't solve the side yard setback issues.
I don't think we're going to solve the side yard setback issue at 7 feet.
It reduces the variance requested.
Correct. It does.
Okay. Well, yeah, I see what you're saying, Mr. Powell. Yeah, if you're more willing to go with that, to do that, if I have to shave off 3 units and you will be more likely to approve the side yard setbacks, then I'm game with that.
Well, it's not our job necessarily to negotiate with an applicant.
Yeah,
it's our job to see if there's any way to minimize. Certainly there's a hardship on this site. And there's no question. You're going to get some variances on this. Otherwise, it's a taking. So bottom line is we're going to probably grant some variances, but it's our job to grant the least amount of variances that we can in order to give you an economic return on the property. And I'm just talking out loud here. I've got colleagues on this board that are very wise as well, and they can speak for themselves.
Yeah, this is
Go ahead. Sorry, Nicholas.
I'm just, at this point, that, this is the tension that I'm experiencing. So, the tension is, obviously this would be a great improvement. Again, I saw it today, saw what it looks like. I see what this would look like. I love the concept of what's being proposed, like in a global sense. I like where this is going. But that self-imposed piece in terms of the number of, to a degree, we have a right to build on our own property, but we also build within ordinances and rules that we have as a community. And I just feel that this is maxing it out, the property, as much as possible. And that includes maxing out the variances too. And it just, I would want to see a reduction in variances to be able to vote yes on this.
Let me propose this just because I'm trying to think outside the box as much as everybody is. We currently have 14 units. We have 5, 5, and 4 as we go up from lowest to highest. I could see making it a very simple design of doing 4, 4, and 4 stacking them over each other that makes a center corridor, center stair tower within this building. It makes mirror images of a 2-bedroom, 1-bedroom, and then a mirror image flip of that. It pulls the, I guess, what would that be? The south side yard setback would pull it in closer to the 70 feet, to the reduction, or probably the reduction of close to 20 feet. So it gets us much closer to that setback line. I don't know if at that point I can then rotate the trash enclosure to then fall slightly behind the face of the building along that south corner, possibly. And it's still falling down the hill, but might be an option. I don't see how I'm able to pull and get that parking any further off of Pontiac Lake Road. I think that's still going to be a variance that's required.
I agree, Brian.
So I think there are some opportunities. I think there is some flexibility if John, as the owner, is willing to, go from, say, 14 to 12. I think that keeps a consistency on a footprint as well. I can basically duplicate three floors. Simplifies construction.
What does that do for us? How much does that reduce the width of the building, Brian? About?
Bear with me 1 second. I'm going to pull it up on my computer. Do you have time? Can I?
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you.
And then Brian, Justin, do we have the ability, although it wasn't advertised, to reduce the amount of guest parking, or going to 1.5 spaces per unit in order to reduce the parking requirements? How would that? Is that a planning commission waiver or variance, or is that something that we can do?
That's only something the Zoning Board of Appeals has the authority to do by variance, but that wasn't a requested variance, so they would have to come back if you were to modify the parking requirement.
I'm not sure. The only what we would get from that, Justin, if I think, because he could do something with the south or the right-hand side of the parking lot due to the reduction in units. If you reduce the number of parking spaces needed over and above a threshold, he might be able to reduce a couple on the left-hand lower side. And I apologize that I don't have my directions very well tonight. And if he reduced those, he can pull that parking lot further away from Pontiac Lake Road then by 9 feet if he reduced 2 parking spaces along that side too.
Yeah, that would, be a creative solution to maybe reduce setback variances. You're creating another variance for parking, but you're reducing setback. So, I think John would know based on the number of units in his building, how many parking spaces he would need. Maybe he doesn't need 34. Maybe he would, or if he has a 12-unit building, maybe he says, I only need, 24 or 20 for a 12-unit building. So that would be something that would have to come back to the Zoning Board of Appeals for a variance request.
Well, it almost sounds to me, Justin, like no matter what we're doing tonight, my hunch is this is going to have to come back anyways, right?
Right. So this, based on what I'm hearing, this is going to need to go back to the Planning Commission for revisions and then come back to the Zoning Board of Appeals. But we should be if we're taking that route, we should be very clear with what we're requesting the Planning Commission do. Debbie is our liaison, but we also, we'll document it in the minutes. We're going to send that to the Planning Commission for exactly the changes that the board wants to see to this plan.
Well, remember, we're not demanding any changes. We're making suggestions.
Right. Well, in this case, if it's going to go back to the planning commission, they're going to be the ones to make a recommendation to the board on the preliminary site plan. So
Right.
you're right. But, if you're making suggestions that are going to lead to changes, then we should be clear with what those are.
Let me ask you, Justin, for something, and John may need to get involved in this. For reserve parking for birthday parties or Christmas parties or whatever, is there the possibility of having parking on the other side of the road for overflow parking?
Potentially, but we have to keep in mind that the RM2, the multiple family zoning district, requires a certain amount of area for recreation. And so we'd have to redo that calculation. If that was going to become parking, then it wouldn't be recreation area.
I'd be kind of looking at it being brick pavers or something that could have dual use, or grasscretes or some kind of gravel parking, so it didn't become impervious surface. But you're right. Thank you for pointing that out.
So we have to redo that calculation, or they would, and we'd have to look at that. Just aesthetically, throwing down some gravel over there probably isn't going to look very good.
I understand.
Yeah.
And what is the reason? Maybe John or Brian might tell us. What's the reason that no curbing was proposed around the parking lot?
I honestly couldn't tell you that answer to that one. I thought we did. I thought we had curb and gutter, but obviously I can tell by looking at Keith's drawing, we do not.
Because curb and gutter, bumper blocks are a nightmare for everyone.
I hate snowplows, hit them and move them all over the place.
Oh, it does.
Yeah, I don't mind putting curbs in at all. I mean,
Should have
it's
curb and
much
gutter.
more
Curb
cosmetically.
and gutter, for sure.
It may have just been an oversight on the plan, to be honest with you. It wasn't on there.
Yeah. So if we pull that one unit, the southern unit off, and leave the footprint of the building on the north end where it is against that 30-foot setback, we actually move the building off that south line, total of 46 feet versus 27.7 feet.
That's huge in my book.
20 feet.
Yeah, 20 feet, and it allows you some reduction in parking spaces, and potentially you might come back and say, let's do some alternative thinking about the number of parking spaces. That's kind of a John call, I would think, on that one.
I think, and this is what kind of, I work in Royal Oak and Ferndale a lot, and the 2 car spaces per unit, we fall into a lot. I mean, a lot of these communities have that. The 6 or the additional guest parking is what blew me away. I had no idea, because realistically, a 1-bedroom unit's not having 2 cars. And so that guest parking should be allowed to be part of that 2 car spots per unit. There is no way you should need that much guest parking. That's my opinion.
And it's almost an owner desire. I mean, because it's going to dictate who moves in there. Get a family of 6 moving into a 2-bedroom place, that's going to be tough.
That's a problem, right? Yes.
So just in the interest of the clarity, yes. I mean, from my standpoint, I do, again, believe this would be an improvement, but I do feel that we're at the moment maxing out the number of variances. So any kind of shaving off of the building, rotating around, does this, I mean, Mr. Powell, what about the dumpster issue? I mean, being that close to the residential side.
Well, he'll be able to, as he said, moving that 20 feet and eliminating some parking areas, he can be a lot more creative with pulling that back and doing some screening of that dumpster.
Okay. So then the way that we would proceed to essentially send it back to the planning commission, I mean, if rather than deny, if we table it, but send it back, does that allow that they don't have to go through? I mean, I guess it's going to be a new plan anyways, right?
It's going to be a new plan, and it's going to have to be renoticed because there's different variances. So tabling it doesn't really benefit them.
It doesn't do any good at all.
It still has to be renoticed because the plan and the types of variances are being, they would be different.
So if we made a vote to deny, would we
Right.
then want to clarify within the denial certain parameters for the?
You would. So, the way the motion reads, I move to deny blah, 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 due to the following reasons. And then you would state the suggestions for the planning commission. And then Debbie and I will take careful notes because we'll be the ones relaying it back to them.
Yeah.
I have a question, technical question, Justin, just to make sure we don't get caught up in a bureaucratic issue. If we just deny all the variances, if one of the variances happen to be exactly the same variance, are they allowed to ask for the exact same variance over again?
So we publish the section and not the dimension. So
Okay.
the plan is changing. So, I think they would be substantive enough where you wouldn't have that issue.
Good.
So they could come back.
Okay.
Is this going to be, end up being a more costly, I'm gonna have to go back to Keith and have them re-engineer plans, right, Brian? And then have you re-engineer plans? I've already been back in front of planning, 3 times already?
No, you haven't been in front of planning. We've submitted 3 times.
Right, and that's like $1,500 every time I submit. Shit. Okay. Well, I don't mind shaving off the building. I mean, if that's gonna help with the setbacks, that's not a problem. It's just, I'm a headache. Okay.
It really truly doesn't. I guess I'm not following why it can't be tabled. And then just send it back from a tabled standpoint back to planning.
Because the variances that are going to come back to the Zoning Board of Appeals are different than what's being proposed tonight. The sections are changing. It's an entirely different plan. It's not like a house is shifting 2 feet. Now there's going to be parking, a number of variants, it sounds like, for the number of parking spaces. Buildings are being changed. The dumpster location is moving. You may or may not need a variance for that. I mean, there's substantive changes.
Simply the addition of the parking variance means that we would have to publish it too, correct?
Right. Any one variance that changed would have to be published.
But let me ask you this question. If we knock 2 units off, and I'm just proposing this, that certainly reduces 4 parking spaces, correct?
Right. They can't grant that variance tonight. They don't have
if it's less than what we're asking for.
Because you did not ask for a parking variance.
I know I'm not asking for a parking variance now, though. I'm asking, it would still be the same number of parking spaces with less 2 units. So my point is, I'm not asking for a parking variance. I'm asking for a reduction of 2 units, which would reduce 4 parking spaces. So instead of 34 parking spaces, I now only need 30 parking spaces, correct? I still have my 6 guest spots. Am I missing something?
Yeah, the concern is we don't know how big of a variance to give you, if any, for the parking lot setback variances.
But if I just knock 4 parking spaces off that.
We can't grant a variance without seeing it on a plan. They can't do that. I don't want to speak for the 5 board members, but they can't grant things without seeing it.
Right. That'd be difficult.
Yes.
Okay.
Justin,
I'm sorry, Debbie. I'm just saying, let's just go with whatever I have to do. I'm game. You guys are being cooperative, and whatever I have to do, I have to do. Brian and I will talk about it. We'll knock the building, shorten it up, and then come back again. It's just part of the process, I guess.
John, I've been before the ZBAs and planning commissions and city boards for 45 years now, and I rarely get through the very first time, and a lot of times it's let's submit what the max we think we can get, and hopefully settle on what we can live with.
I understand.
Yep.
I'm sorry, Debbie, we cut you off.
Yeah, Debbie, did you have something to say?
I just had a question. If two of the units come off, so we lose 4 parking spaces, does that change the amount of guest spaces that they are required to have?
I think it's 25%, and I'll look in the ordinance real quick. I can tell you that in a minute here. I'll calculate the number of spaces required for that many units. I think it's
Okay.
25%.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Because I kind of agree with Mike. They have the lot across the street. How many times will somebody be there? 6 people all the time for guests. Could they do some sort of guest parking and use it as a basketball court or?
Yes.
Sure. So the parking requirement is 2 spaces per unit plus a quarter space per bedroom of guest parking. So it's based on the guest parking is based on the number of bedrooms, not on the number of units.
2 2-bedroom units is what we're losing.
So right now there's if there's 10 2-bedroom units. So you're okay. Okay.
So that's losing another space.
Right. 1 space.
Yeah. But I like the idea of a basketball area that can be used for overflow parking, and that's part of recreation.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Okay.
That can make
we don't like a huge asphalt parking lot either.
Right.
And it got ridiculous, in my opinion, the number of parking spaces required.
Go ahead.
That would be fantastic if we could.
Yeah, if they cut back on parking spaces, that will change the plan. And maybe you would tell, and that's a question, John is the owner of the building. If he's going to have, 12 units in it, it sounds like, based on this discussion, how many parking spaces does he, want? Is it 2 per unit? Does he not need 2 per unit? I mean, he could, if he's going to come back for a parking variance, he could reduce that to whatever he thought was best for him.
Right.
Okay.
We're doing 1.3 now in Royal Oak per unit.
Yeah, so they could come back with, regardless of what our ordinance says, if it sounds like we're going to make some concessions on the number of parking spaces to get better setbacks, then they could propose a parking ratio that works for them.
I would just like to build something there sooner than later, and whatever I have to do to make it look nice and, appease, I know it's a difficult site, so I'm not expecting to have to build, postage stamp, make this thing huge. But it just gotta be financially viable.
I think, John, that the direction you're heading and what we discussed will allow you to increase the buffer along Pontiac Lake Road, as well as scoot the building further back from the natural features setback area.
Okay.
Actually pull it forward, right?
Pull it forward, right?
Yeah, I would love that. I wish that building could be right up to the road.
Yeah, you can't do
give
that.
the people a better view of the lake and everything else. So.
Yeah, and it might be stretching it a bit, but if it can move enough, maybe some of those balconies or a smaller version can go back in again too. Or was it patios or balcony? I can't remember what they were.
They were both, and I don't think there's any arguing that what Mr. Rozansky is proposing would be an improvement. I mean, anything's going to be. I mean, what's there now? He would. This project's going to be an improvement, and I think that's the planning commission.
Absolutely.
So it's just getting to a point where everybody's comfortable with what's being proposed.
Without a doubt. Yeah.
Okay.
So are we ready to make a motion?
I think so, Madam Chair.
Well,
I'll give it a try. I'll give it a try and let my colleagues supplement it if I miss something.
All right.
I move to deny the variances requested by John Rozansky for parcel number 12-13-328-003, identified as 8565 Pontiac Lake Road, to allow the owner and his consultants to make modifications to the site to lessen the requested variances, potentially by reducing the number of units, reducing the parking requirements, as the owner and planning commission may seem may believe is best, and increase the buffering for the parking lot and the landscape buffering around the dumpster area.
I'm still writing.
Yeah, I'm ready too.
Oh, Hannah's got it.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure she does.
She's our scribe. She's got it.
Justin
this-
scared me.
Oh,
Maybe this was in there and I missed. Maybe this was in there and I missed it. But did we also need to make a note about the curbing, or not?
I think that that's part of the site plan approval requirements, and
Okay.
they don't want to come back to this board and ask for a variance on that.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Okay, so, Hannah, do you think you got all of that?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, you're too good. Then with that motion, do we have a support?
I support that.
Thank you. Hannah, may we have a roll call, please?
Powell,
Yes, I believe that the site plan request can be resubmitted with less variances requested.
Shellac,
Vote yes, because while this plan and whatever other plan we will see will definitely be an improvement. I also believe that we're at a point of maxing out the variances and we need to reduce the number, even though I believe wholeheartedly that we're going to have to pass vote for some.
DeHart,
Yes, for the reasons stated.
Walls,
Yes, for the reasons stated.
Spencer,
Yes, those reasons were beautifully stated, and I agree. So, gentlemen, ball's back in your court. You need to get together with whomever you need, including staff if you need to. They'll help you, walk you through it as much as they can, but you're just gonna have to get back to the planning commission. You know our thoughts.
Yeah.
And while we'll definitely work with you, we do see that the plan does need to be reduced somewhat.
Thank you very much for your time, everybody. I appreciate it, for staying up so late.
And thank you for what you're trying to do to improve this area
Yes.
too.
Yes.
That's really
It's a great
fantastic.
improvement.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
With that, Justin, do we have any other business?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. Next meeting date, March 25th, 2021. I understand we have a few cases.
You currently have 5. And if Mr. Rosansky comes back, well, it's too late now because it won't be noticed. You'll have 5 for March.
Okay.
Do we not also have a mid-month planning thing as well, or is that?
So I guess I could mention that we had talked about scheduling a training session for March. I believe the date was 11th, and we were going to try to hold that in person. And with the governor's restrictions on indoor gatherings being extended, we decided to reschedule the training session for April 8th. And as of now, at 6 p.m. as a special meeting. That's a Thursday. And I've heard from all of you that that had worked for you. Tentatively, it will be in person. If we cannot do it in person on April 8th, we may just do it on Zoom at that point. But the hope is that on April 8th, we will do that in person. but we want to get the training done. And I think you guys want to too. So we'll do it in April, I think, whether it's in person or on Zoom. If that works for you. 6 p.m. on April 8th. That's
Okay.
the second Thursday.
I will be out of town on March 25th.
Thank you, Debbie.
Now, I'm not sure, I'm probably just gonna have my cell phone with me. If I can Zoom from my cell phone, I would be more than happy to join.
That works, Debbie.
That's totally up to you, Debbie. You'll be more than welcome to join by telecommunication on however you want to, wherever you are. We'd be happy to have you.
Just like Pete in Florida all winter.
Yeah. It's like Mr. Powell, I think, was in Disney World.
I was
at the township board meeting last week.
Oh my goodness.
That's right.
He takes the grandkids to Disney, and then he is on a Zoom meeting for 4 hours.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Did you do it on your phone, Mike, or a tablet? Or?
I used my laptop.
I don't think I'm taking mine. So.
And you could always call in where you may not. I mean, you could use your phone if you had video and wanted to do it that way, but you could also just call in on your phone too. You wouldn't be able to see us, but we'd be able to hear you, and you'd be able to hear us. Great. So just let me know, and if it doesn't work, then we can get an alternate. I guess just another brief bit of news. Hopefully, at the March 16th township board meeting, a new or second alternate will be appointed. So the zoning board of appeals is allowed to have two. We have one in Cliff right now. We're recommending Kathy Asseltine fill the second role.
Cool.
She used to be on the ZBA back in the 90s, and then she was on the planning commission in the early 2000s.
Kathy's not that old. Come on.
And now she's on the Parks and Rec committee. So that recommendation for appointment as an alternate member will be on the township board agenda for March 16th.
And Mike, she is that old. She graduated 1 year behind me at St. Mary of Redford.
Shame on you, Joe, for saying that.
Can't help it. Kathy and I go way back.
So I've got you all beat, so I'm okay with that.
Okay. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So just a clarification. So March 25th, that at least is Zoom for sure.
That is for sure a Zoom meeting.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's all. I'll make that motion, Joe.
And do we have a support?
Support.
Thank you. With that, people,
we have to vote.
That's it. Brian, thank you very much for your help tonight.
Are you going to vote to adjourn?
I vote yes.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Good night,
everyone.
Have a good evening.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Good night. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks,
Thank
Brian.
you, Brian.
Thank you,
everyone. Have a good week.
Have a good weekend. Bye.